I want to talk to you about something that a lot of men were taught, but nobody ever really challenged. And because nobody challenged it, it just became normal. It became what we call masculinity. But if we're being honest, some of what we call masculinity today is really just pride. It's just been dressed up in a way that makes it look acceptable. Because somewhere along the way, men were taught that being a man means you don't bend, you don't show weakness, you don't cry, you don't open up too much, you don't let people see certain sides of you. You stay solid, you stay in control, you hold your ground no matter what. And on the surface, that sounds strong and it sounds really good. It sounds like discipline. It sounds like stability. But if you sit with it long enough, you start to realize something. A lot of that isn't strength, it's just resistance. It's a man who doesn't know how to be open, so he calls it being closed off on purpose. It's a man who struggles to communicate, so he says, that's just how I am. It's a man who can't receive correction, so he labels everyone else as wrong. And over time, that kind of thinking becomes dangerous because now pride is being protected instead of exposed. And once pride gets comfortable, it starts shaping everything. It shapes how you respond in relationships. It shapes how you lead your family. It shapes how you handle conflict. Because instead of trying to understand, now you're trying to win. Instead of trying to grow, you're trying to be right. And that might work in certain environments, but it breaks things in the places that actually matter. It breaks connection. It breaks trust. It creates distance between you and the people you're supposed to be closest to. And the wild part is that most men don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just standing firm. They think they're just being a man. But being a man isn't about being unmovable. It's about being grounded. And those are two very different things because a grounded man can listen. He can be challenged without feeling threatened. He can adjust without feeling like he lost something. But a prideful man has to hold his position, even when it's costing him, even when it's hurting his relationship, even when it's limiting his growth. Because for him, letting go of that position feels like losing control. And control is usually what pride and ego are protecting. Now, if we go a little bit deeper, pride doesn't just show up in how we deal with other people. It shows up in how you deal with yourself. It shows up in the way you avoid looking at certain areas of your life, the things you know you need to work on, but you keep pushing it to the side. The conversations you know you need to have, but you keep delaying. The habits you know aren't helping you, but you keep justifying it. That's pride too, because pride doesn't always say, I'm better than everyone. Sometimes it just says, I don't need to deal with that right now. And if you keep living like that, you can build a version of masculinity that looks strong from the outside, but it has no depth to it, no flexibility, no self-awareness, no real growth. And eventually, life will expose that because there are going to be moments where strength alone isn't enough. Moments where you're going to need patience. Moments where you're going to need humility. Moments where you're going to need to admit that something in you needs to change. And if pride is still running the show, those moments will be hard. Not because you're incapable, but because you're not open. And that's the shift most men never make. They keep trying to become stronger without becoming more open in the process. They keep trying to lead without learning how to be led and how, more importantly, how to serve. They keep trying to build without allowing anything in them to be rebuilt. And that's where the disconnect is. Because real masculinity isn't about being right all the time. It's not about dominating every situation. It's not about proving anything. It's about becoming the kind of man who is strong enough to be honest, to be vulnerable, disciplined enough to be consistent, and humble enough to keep growing, even when it challenges who he's been. And if you can get to that place, you don't just look like a man, you actually become a man.